This podcast is made possible by you, the supporters of WPLN and WNXP, Nashville Public Radio.
This is the Nashvillager podcast. It's March 1st, 2025. This day in 1990 was the final day that the old Bordeaux landfill accepted Nashville's household trash. It took intense pressure and protest. I'm talking people standing in the way of dump trucks kind of protest, from neighbors and officials who lived on the city's historically black north side. It was the end of an era for Bordeaux and the start of a new one for the area just north of Murfreesboro, where a massive new landfill opened up to take waste from counties all over Middle Tennessee. I'm Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. I've talked about it here before. Things are coming to a head at the landfill in Rutherford County. I won't say it's happening like it did in Bordeaux. That was grassroots driven. This time it's playing out more as a fight between the company that runs the landfill, Republic Services, which wants to expand so the facility can keep running, and the local governments of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County, which have come up with a multi-pronged future waste disposal plan that does not include a local landfill. Except that now, after several years of back and forth and lawsuits and debate, things may be getting a little more complicated. Don't get me wrong, the mayors of both the county and the city are still vocally opposed to a landfill expansion. In fact, they held a press conference not long ago calling the idea disastrous. But the most recent play by Republic Services, suggesting the expansion be on county-owned land, has some on the county commission wanting to find out more, instead of just giving the company a knee-jerk answer of no. Earlier this month, the commission's Public Works and Planning Committee listened to public comment on the proposal. 7 out of 10 speakers were opposed to expansion. One pointed out that the rules violations the landfill has racked up over the years. One pointed out rules violations the landfill has racked up over the years. 33 since 2018. 11 of them were classified as major. And he pointed out that on a couple of occasions, the trash has caught on fire. That raises concerns over what toxins might be in the smoke drifting over nearby neighborhoods. And that's an area that has seen a lot of development in the years since the landfill was established. For their part, the site's operators have said that the fires are uncommon. And while they certainly don't want fires, nobody's been hurt by the ones at Middle Point, and crews put the blazes out pretty quickly. As for violations, the company says Middle Point has had 30 consecutive monthly inspections with no problems. Unsurprisingly, the comments also echoed the messages we've heard many times from the people of Bordeaux. Why should we be everyone else's dumping ground? It's someone else's turn. But I suspect one of the people expressing a minority opinion, support for the expansion, gave voice to a reason that some commissioners decided that this time, after all the back and forth and county leaders holding strong to the no more landfill message for years, why they said that the idea of using county land is something to maybe hear out. Because that land adjacent to Middle Point landfill includes the site of the county's earlier unlined landfill from back before the days that environmental restrictions on waste handling were as strict as they are now. That's closed now, but it still requires maintenance and monitoring to make sure everything gross and toxic stays inside the landfill. And if Republic Services takes over control of that land for the expansion, then the company would have the responsibility of doing that ongoing maintenance. There's also a money issue. Right now, Middle Point accepts Rutherford County's trash for free. The alternate plan, heavy on things like recycling and turning some waste into a kind of biomass fuel, will cost money. It needs new facilities, a program for sorting trash, all kinds of stuff. So it will have a price tag. Republic has really been trying to drive home the idea that it's going to cost taxpayers money. But advocates for the plan say it actually should pay for itself in a way that will scale out over time and pay for future growth without a tax. Murfreesboro's paper, the Daily News Journal, has really been on this story. And one thing that they point out is that now Middle Tennessee State University is getting pulled into the mess, which that institution does not want at all. Republic recently sent a mailer to area residents touting an economic impact study from MTSU and says the university found that sticking with the landfill is a money saver. MTSU's president quickly expressed concern that the way things are presented makes it look like the school is endorsing the landfill expansion idea and said that actually The college just wants to stay out of the fight entirely. But there are a couple of very important points the mailer glosses over. First of all, it was commissioned by Republic, which probably means the company set some guidelines for what is and isn't included. And second, it's not a comparison of landfill expansion versus the plan to change how the county handles waste. It's really just a study showing Middle Point's existing economic impact on the county. It looks at all the financial details of how things work now, cost for hauling, sorting, disposing of waste, how many community members are employed, that kind of thing. And it compares those figures to how much it would cost to haul all the trash to one of the region's other landfills. That approach makes sense for quantifying the specific value of a company to a place. It keeps everything apples to apples. But the real-life scenario is apples to oranges. It's status quo versus paradigm shift. Now, I don't often promote listening to another radio station, but something really interesting is going to happen Monday morning on one that operates in Murfreesboro and Smyrna. County Mayor Joe Carr and Mike Klassen from Republic have agreed to sit down together on WGNS and hold a live discussion on the landfill issue. They're going to take questions, too. Not live calls, but the station is currently accepting text messages from people who have points to raise on the issue. And information about how to listen or participate is on their website. Again, those call letters are WGNS. In just a few minutes, Nashvillians with ties to Gaza who are carefully watching developments there. That's coming up after the newscast.
Tennessee's legislature has passed a record-breaking number of anti-LGBTQ laws. I'm Mariana Baca-Yao, and as WPLN's Power and Equity reporter, I focus not only on how marginalized communities contend with those new laws, but how they come together in spite of them.
I think what gives me hope is that someone like you is covering this. Because if the overwhelming narrative is one of defeat, how can we have hope?
Listen here on 90.3 WPLN News.
Here's the latest from WPLN News. Transgender students who attend college, boarding school, or summer camp in Tennessee could soon be barred from using facilities that align with their gender. A measure to segregate restrooms, locker rooms, or showers based on a student's gender assigned at birth passed in the Tennessee Senate yesterday. The bill still needs approval in the House, where it's expected to pass along party lines. In the past 3 years, Tennessee approved a record number of bills aimed at restricting what transgender people can do. That push has lost steam in this year's legislative session as lawmakers turn their focus to education and immigration. Meanwhile, protesters opposing a state house effort to end the right to education for undocumented students have thus far had mixed success. One version of a bill would charge tuition for undocumented students to attend public school. That failed this week. That followed after protesters shut down the committee by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. But other bills that would also allow schools to charge tuition or altogether reject students without legal status are still advancing in the State House. The version with the clearest path to success will be heard in committees next week. Over the last year, Tennessee's Comptroller's Office has been investigating Shelby County's criminal justice system. The department concluded that the county needs greater transparency and data reporting to help with public understanding of how the system is working. The research began after Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally requested an investigation into the length of time Shelby County was taking to get convictions in cases and the types of crimes being committed by people while they waited for their day in court. Data obtained by WPLN and ProPublica has found that wait times have gotten as long as 900 days in Shelby County for domestic assault cases, for example. Transparency and data collection varies greatly across Tennessee's 95 counties. Court data is compiled by the state's Administrative Office of the Courts. However, in several counties, general sessions courts do not use the same case management system as the rest of the state, making it difficult to compare case outcomes. That includes general sessions courts here in Davidson County, as well as in Shelby, Knox, and Hamilton, the state's 4 largest communities. The potential impact of tariffs continues to make many families concerned about their bottom line. In the Tennessee farming community, where 98% of farms are family-owned, some growers are deciding now whether they should slow or stop production. Renee Moore, owner of the Moore Family Century Farm in Benton County, tells our Daily Show This is Nashville that during this time of uncertainty, it's important to look beyond the headlines and visualize farmers as individuals.
A lot of people visualize a person with over 1,000 acres of land. And the majority of the farmers in the state of Tennessee, they're Asian, Black, Hispanic, indigenous. They're white. They're women, they're men, they're husbands, uncles, aunties. We say the word farmers and we talk about economics and it just becomes an intellectual conversation, but we're really talking about people's lives.
On Wednesday, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said because of tariffs, further progress may be delayed on getting inflation back to the 2% target. You can listen to this and all episodes of This is Nashville as a podcast. Administrators at Austin Peay State University are proposing changes to the school's non-discrimination policy. Clarksville Now reports they want to strip out protections based on sexual orientation and gender identity, along with removing language referring to DEI and affirmative action. The move follows a White House memo alerting universities that federal funding could be taken away from institutions with diversity initiatives. Last week, the Department of Education announced it was opening a formal investigation into 45 universities on those grounds, including Vanderbilt. Governor Bill Lee wants Nashville to host the Super Bowl as soon as 2029. The Tennessean reports Lee has sent an official letter of interest to the NFL. That follows a tour Lee took of the new Nissan Stadium, where construction is expected to finish in 2 years. Earlier this month, Nashville officials also sent a Super Bowl letter of interest. They hope to host other major sporting events as well, from the NFL Pro Bowl to college basketball's Final Four. That's the sound of Nashville's Kurdish community celebrating the new year with a bonfire. It's all part of Nowruz, a holiday that celebrates the arrival of spring. Nowruz is actually today. The fire is traditionally lit the evening before. The adults gave speeches and read poems, kids waved Kurdish flags, and everyone danced, although some kept their celebrations more subdued in observance of Ramadan. You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org. Last week, we told you about the Muslim-owned coffee houses leading Nashville's sober nightlife scene during and after Ramadan. One of them was Dare Cafe, a Palestinian-owned shop. WPLN's Rachel Iacovone followed back up with Dare's owner after the news that Israel had broken its ceasefire in Gaza.
Yusuf Gameza is sitting in the same seat as the first time we spoke a week before. Beside him is a wall covered in butcher paper, where his customers have written messages like Kurds for Palestinians and Turkey loves Palestine. These sentiments came during the ceasefire. Now, Israel has begun airstrikes, again, on Gaza.
Like at least me, I've been there almost 20 years of my life, so I know how is this going on. Every time it's the same. They actually break their word.
Gameza is no stranger to the cycle of violence in the region. The Nashville native moved to Gaza as a first grader and remained there until a few years ago. The cafe is what he calls his retirement plan. His career in his ancestral land was as an emergency room doctor during a period in which border protesters were often coming in wounded.
That's why I was seeing in ER a lot of kids. It's just, throwing rocks and all that in the borders and just shooting people back and burn some. I dealt with a lot of burn-like actually cases. And I was working almost for a whole year. I didn't even take one day off. I was not allowed to take day off.
He burnt out eventually and decided to follow his parents back to the U.S. and Nashville. But Gameza is not the only doctor in the family. His uncle is a cardiologist in Gaza, and still, during this most recent conflict, he couldn't find care for his ill father, Gameza's grandpa. He died in his son's arms in an overflowing hospital.
So we lost a good number. I lost my cousins. I lost 16 in one hit. They actually struck the whole building. It's 4 of my cousins with their wives and their actually kids. Just 16 in 1 second disappeared.
According to the United Nations, 1,200 Israelis and 48,000 Palestinians have been killed. Gameza says every Palestinian has lost people, plural. As he tells me about his loved ones who were killed, He spins a string of black beads through his fingers.
Can you tell me what you're holding on to?
This is called subhat. So we use it too much just to remind us, like when we have time, to just say praying to God and just, reminds us all the time He's around us and just mention Him in our hearts. And we have this saying even in our religion, when you mention Him, He mentioned you in His throne.
Rachel Iacovone, WPLN News.
See photos from Gameza's life in Gaza and read how the Islamic Center of Nashville is handling this news as Ramadan services have ramped up at the mosque in the web article now at WPLN.org. We do this roundup of Nashville news every weekday, so subscribe in your favorite podcasting app to make sure you never miss an episode. If you like this, you'll probably enjoy the Nashvillager newsletter, too. You'll get perspective from more of my colleagues at Nashville Public Radio and links to the stories we're following. Sign up for those daily emails at WPLN.org/Nashvillager. Thanks so much for listening. Let's make this day a good one, and we'll catch back up next week.